It's good to be with you again. Today we're going to look at papers in Africa and outside the continent. As usual, we'll start from Zambia. We're looking at what the Post carried yesterday. The Post reports that Bishop Edward Chumba has said that Zambians have enough corruption allegations against ex-President Rupia Banda that warrant removal of his immunity to determine the extent of plunder. The bishop said the shadow of corruption will continue following Banda. Professor Michelo Hansungule says the appointment of Patriotic Front Secretary General Winter Kabimba as Minister of Justice is in good light. Go to page 4 and find out more. The Zambian government has asked the nation's only university teaching radio, ANZA Radio, to stick to its license conditions. Are they going out of their way to annoy the government? Find out more through the columns of the Post newspaper. All right, let's take on this weekly from Zimbabwe. It's called The Zimbabwean. The weekly brings to light this shocking story as it says commercial sex workers and desperate women in Arid Chikombadzi and the Lowveld district of Cheredzi are offering sex in return for maize and a bid to avert hunger. A male client spoke to the paper. It's shocking, but it's a bit true. Please read on. It's a big story today. Also find out why the City Council has ordered the freezing of numerous projects involving Sunshine Properties that it runs in cooperation with a controversial businessman. The Zimbabwean also carries the utterances of the Secretary General of the MDCT, Tendai Biti. The politician says Deputy Prime Minister Ato Mutambara is a worse politician than President Robert Mugabe. Why is Muram Binda a teenage sex haven? The answer lies on page 16. Away from Zimbabwe, we take you to the Rainbow Nation. We're looking at Daily Dispatch. A shocking revolution carried by the paper goes thus. Buffalo City Metro wastes more than 150 million rand in irregular facilities of fruitless and wasteful expenditure over the past financial year. It says this includes 6,000 or 67,000 rand to lease vacant offices. Read on the first page. The mine violence in South Africa is still hitting the headlines now. UDM leader Bantu Holomisa is willing to help Marikana miners, even though he has not been officially asked to do so. Another story says the head of one of the province's smallest municipalities is among the highest paid. It adds that Port St. John's municipal manager Nidile Jakupas 1.2 million rand annually is just a little less than Nelson Mandela Bay and Buffalo City Metro's pay their bosses. Remaining in South Africa, we're picking the Business Day newspaper. Going by the paper, Trade and Industry Minister Bob Davis says he's confident that London-based investors and political leaders will remain committed to South Africa despite recent violent protests at the country's mines. Find out why Cape Town's Sizwa Medical Fund was placed under provisional curatorship yesterday. The Reserve Bank is aiming at honoring South Africa's hero, Nelson Madiba Mandela. The South Africa Reserve Bank is to circulate a banknote carrying the effigy of Nelson Mandela by the end of the year. Go to page 2. Joanne Berger of the Institute for Security Studies has told a parliamentary seminar that almost a quarter of detectives in the South African police service are not trained. The expert says hundreds of thousands of reported crimes cannot be successfully prosecuted as a result of shoddy investigations. All right, we take it to Africa's giant, Nigeria. We're picking Business Day. A paper says as the voice segment of Nigeria's telecommunications market reaches saturation point with attendant decline in revenues, mobile network operators, MNOs, are beginning to pay keen attention to the mobile value-added services, the VAS market, valued at $1 billion. In another story, we are meant to understand that unions and the aviation ministry have disagreed over the total reader radar coverage of the Nigerian airspace, the Trakan project, over an alleged cover-up. Aviation unions have accused the Federal Ministry of Aviation of covering up issues raised in the report of the Ministerial Committee, which investigated the status of Trakan. The Nigerian Daily says the oil discovered in the Lake Chad Basin years ago has been exploited by her neighbors Cameroon, Niger and Chad, while Nigeria is still only talking about it. All right, we take you to Cameroon. We're looking at the Post newspaper. The paper says that ex-Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization, Marafa Hamidou Yaya, the former boss of Cameroon Airlines, Yves Michel Fotso, and the erstwhile Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, Jean-Marie Atangana Mebara, will soon face fresh charges of the embezzlement of public funds. The body governing elections in Cameroon, Alakam, has done the inaugural training of trainers for the biometric registration of voters in the Northwest region recently in Bamenda. See what more the Cameroonian government is putting in place in order to boost its tourism sector. About 7 weeks ago, the Ministry of Tourism and Leisure trained tourist operators in the Southwest and improving the quality of services rendered to its clientele. It has also organized recently training for mayors of the region. The Post says it has learned that Cameroon's First Lady, Mrs. Chantal Biya, is sick and is being treated in Neuilly-sur-Seine, that's Susan, and the outskirts of Paris, that's in France. She's reported to be convalescing in the presidential palace in Neuilly-sur-Seine. Get it all from the Post. We know that there have been controversial stories surrounding the whereabouts of the First Lady of Cameroon because she has been out of public face. Now we're taking the Wall Street Journal, the Europe edition. The paper says Nokia Corp's shares plummeted on Wednesday after the company unveiled 2 new smartphones designed to run on Microsoft Corp's latest operative system in a make-or-break move. It also writes that South African miners wielding knob carries and sticks marched on Wednesday at the Marikana mine. About 2,000 workers joined calls for their wages to be tripled and other grievances to be settled. The ex-police chief of the Chinese city of Chongqing, who fled to the U.S. consulate in February, has been charged with defection, power abuse, bribe-taking, and bending the law for selfish ends. More is on page 11. All right, our last stop today is this paper from the UK, the Daily Telegraph. According to the UK paper, homeowners will be allowed to build large conservatories and extensions without requiring planning permission. The PM, David Cameron, will announce today, Thursday, on the plans to encourage home improvements boom to stimulate the struggling economy. That's what the paper writes. Another one talks of the scientific finding which has shown that eating a portion of oily fish such as salmon or mackerel 3 times a week could help to protect the muscles from deterioration in old age by doubling the benefits of exercise. 3 Britons, that's holidaymakers, were feared dead in a robbery gun run at a remote French beauty spot on Wednesday. According to the government, Higher Education Access Advisor, elite universities should admit equal numbers of rich and poor students to prevent admissions being skewed towards the most advantaged. All right, go to all those papers and pick more news because we give you just a summary of what they're carrying on the front pages and very interesting stories that they do carry these days, stories on health issues and economic issues as well. Well, that's the press today. We're glad you were there. Please do stay with us for more news.